Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please?
Like and subscribe.
Welcome to the Sit, Walk, Work podcast, a show about paying attention. My name is Dominic and I'm your host, and today is a guided meditation. And what you can expect is that the practice will open up with a brief recap, followed by the actual practice itself. If you find today's episode valuable, please share with your friends and family, and feel free to leave a review wherever you listen to podcasts. The show will begin after the following chimes. Today's practice moved us through this idea of listening. Came from the book, The Art of Communicating by Thich Nhat. And he was talking about how our meditation practice is and can be used as a practice to make us better listeners, first with ourselves and then, of course, subsequently with others. And I really enjoyed this practice and this idea that when we sit down, that is part of what we're doing. We're listening to what comes up the moment we kind of slow down. And so we started first by moving into the breath, which is a common place that I start because your breath kind of anchors you and is with you everywhere you go. And so we've kind of paid attention to what our breath was like today, how it was showing up in each moment, playing with noticing the pauses in the breath and noticing just simply the way the breath kind of moves the body and is impacted along the way by all the various other senses. And then we moved and widened our attention from the breath to the body to include your physical sensations. And then as we moved through the breath and the sensations, how did they come together to create an overall feeling tone? And we moved and paid attention towards the way the mind was really working and the way that when the mind is kind of presenting you stuff, it's an opportunity to kind of check in and see, like, how real is that thought that's coming through? What does that thought that's coming through do to your body and to your breath? And what happens if you choose not to follow it and you simply let it go? How does that kind of play out? And so those were some of the things that I had us focus on in that realm before bringing us back around to a bit of spaciousness and touching on kind of the whole totality of our practice, bringing us back to the breath and this time slowing the breath down, offering an opportunity for a longer exhale to help kind of put us in a more calming state as we closed out practice and brought us up for a full around for our 30 minutes in time together. First things first, as we get started, I'd like to ask everybody to again check their posture, make sure you're comfortable. And the best way, the two things I like to measure that comfort by is, can I breathe well and are my hands relaxed so they're not fidgeting all over the place and potentially creating distraction from the practice. So if you can kind of honor those two things, can I breathe well? Are my hands steady and comfortable? That'll really help you get through a lot of the postural components. You want to be able to breathe because that's an important part of what we do here. Of course, once you've kind of gotten the posture situated and sorted out, I invite you to close the eyes. Closing the eyes kind of flips a switch in the mind, and it also helps to minimize the number of visual distractions you have. Of course, if keeping your eyes closed doesn't feel comfortable or safe, you can keep the eyes open. I ask you to fix them on a non-moving object so they don't take away from your experience. And with the eyes closed and the body prepared to sit and pay attention, This is it. This is where we start with practice. As you arrive to practice, I ask you to kind of loosely scan the body and you'll notice what is kind of front top of mind right now. So what does that mean? Maybe that's a sensation or a pain within the body or something going on physically with you. Or maybe your mind has a certain tone to it. Maybe it's been a rough day. Maybe you had a moment right before you walked in here, or maybe you've just kind of been running high in the land of stress. So anything can kind of fit the bill, but I kind of want you to just take inventory of what is here with you right now as we start practice. Give yourself a good minute or so to simply notice that. And it might be apparent when you kind of sit here and just kind of take that initial inventory. There can be a lot happening in the mind, a lot happening in the body, right? Often we come to meditation looking for a sense of peace. And I think there are ways to that peace, but it comes not in the way we might expect. It comes from building this very compassionate, patient, receptive attitude towards everything that's kind of happening within us, towards all of the noise you just said and noticed, or the way your body feels in this moment. So it doesn't come from ridding ourselves of these things. It comes from being better listeners to these things, interacting, paying attention to them in a way that builds space within us to be supportive of all parts of ourselves. As we move into the journey of practice, keep that wise intention of being a good listener to whatever you're noticing. And we'll explore that more in practice. Begin to direct your focus towards your breathing. This initial foundation of practice. We start by feeling the breath move through our bodies, expanding and contracting with each inhale and each exhale. In this way, the breath mirrors the idea of us kind of accepting the moment as it comes. We're so used to stringing our moments together and creating our stories, it's hard to notice that these are individual frames of a much larger context. So we're slowing down enough to watch each frame go by. Feel each breath move in and out, noticing the quality of that breath. Is it deep or is it shallow? Is it physically moving the belly or the shoulders? Are you enjoying sitting with the breath, or does it bring up a bit of agitation in the mind? There's no wrong answers to these types of inquiries. It's just kind of as I put the question out there, or as you explore, it's can you listen to what comes back? Can you hear the answers that lie within the stillness? Noticing how the body feels a bit more alive as you take a breath in, the way the body animates a little bit more, the energy levels rise a little bit more as you breathe in. You might feel the natural pause as you take energy in and kind of hold it for a moment. And then as you exhale, notice the way you soften. The body releases and it relaxes, and these become tactile ways in which the breath reminds us that we should always be trying to balance the highs and the lows. That for the energy we bring in, it's okay to make space, to soften, to relax. Because we are focused on one specific object, the breath in this case, everything else wants its turn at your attention. So maybe you might be feeling sensations somewhere in the body that are distracting you from your breath. Your mind might be taking you forward or backwards in time, or providing an unhelpful commentary or a distracting one. So if you find that's true for you throughout practice, this is where we get to kind of honor that compassion piece. It's recognizing you're not where your attention should be focused, and then bringing it back to that place, back to the breath. In the spirit of listening to what's arising in this moment, how does the body feel after having focused the attention on the breath? What and how does that generate the felt sense within you? Or, as I like to call it, your feeling tone. Letting your attention widen now, widen a bit to include the sensations of your body and as a part of what you're focusing on. So now it's the breath and it's what can you feel in your body? The weight of your body in space, the surfaces that are supporting it, its temperature, the textures that are touching your skin. Notice the relationship between the breaths that you're taking and all of those changing sensations happening within the physical body. You might notice that there's parts of the body that are more quiet than others, things that don't necessarily give off a large amount of sensation. And then there's parts within you that are very loud, they're very noise. Can you breathe with them and be with them simply as they are right now in this moment? And this widening of attention to include the body and the breath in unison, the distractions begin to minimize. You may still be pulled by your thinking mind into some story or some place, or you might be distracted now by sounds around you. All of that simply reinforces the work of training the mind to stay in the place you asked it to be for the moment you asked it to be there. Remembering that there's no wrong way to do that. Now we'll begin to listen and pay attention a little bit to the thoughts that are flowing in. In the same way I've asked you to focus on your body and your breath, let your attention begin to focus on just the thoughts that are coming and going. Our thoughts can be filtered sometimes through positive or negative tones, useful or unuseful tones, time, meaning present or past. And they can move sometimes, often quickly, but this part of the practice, I want you to see kind of the reoccurring ones, the things that might be most prominent in this moment. Notice how they relate to your breathing, the physical sensations in your body. Some thoughts create tightness and shallow breathing. Others give you space, a little bit more freedom. Even noticing if you believe them to be true. How do you know? Or are they simply a thought moving through in this moment? And what happens if you simply listen instead of reacting to them? If you choose compassion as you interact with yourself in this moment, how does that reflect in your body and in your breath? Whatever's happening in this moment is truly this moment. Given enough time, it will simply just change. It will dissolve and transform and become something anew. The pieces that stay are the things that we grab onto, that we don't allow to move through, that stay with us. Through practice and time, we begin to build space, enough space to remove us from being reactionary. And that space that we find over time and practice is where our peace and stillness begins to grow and develop, where we come to learn the value of sitting and listening to ourselves every day. If the mind took you somewhere else, come back to your breath, come back to feeling your body, taking in and acknowledging the space that has made practice available or made it available for you to experience all of yourself. There is no shortage of space as we move through the practice. Letting the exhales begin to get longer and slower, a nice natural pace for you to let the practice soften a little. Almost as if you could let your attention get lost in how long it takes for you to exhale. As you begin to close out practice, I invite you to offer yourself a bit of gratitude showing up today, a bit of acknowledgement for making the time to sit and experience and to be a good listener. to yourself in this moment. And whether you're returning or starting for the first time, none of it happens if you don't choose to pause and sit down. As you begin to exit the practice, take your time. Maybe start by moving the hands, opening and closing them nice and slowly before letting the eyes open, taking in your full surround. Notice what it's like to come out of the practice and back into your moment to moment experience.
That's the beauty of it.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. I invite you to check out my Substack, where we are building a community of like minded individuals to discuss all topics related to the idea of paying attention. I hope to see you there. But until then, with metta, may you be well.
Like and subscribe.